is we're going to be talking about, and this is going to be part of a 3-part series. So this is part 1, and we're going to be talking about building your CRM for success. So today's about categorizing and setting it up so that when you do launch your campaigns, that everything is there. And everyone, I know I'm totally getting ahead of what Adam's going to talk about today, but everyone is in there. In particular, if you haven't already met Adam Smith, he is the host of How I Met Your Mortgage podcast. He's a Just the Tips coach. So he's got years of experience, both coaching on the mortgage and the real estate side. He comes equipped with tons of knowledge. And honestly, one of we're talking about CRMs, and one of the things that attracted Adam to us was his use of his CRM for personal videos. We'll totally talk about that later in the series, how he does these drips going on where he sings happy birthday to you.
Not well, but yes.
But guys, thank you. First of all, thanks Adam for joining us, and thank you everybody for if you're joining on Facebook, LinkedIn, or if you actually joined us via our invites on the email sense that we've been going out on Shawami. We're so excited to have you, Adam. Let's take it away.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Josh, and you and Matt have always been absolutely wonderful about this. You guys do such a fantastic job of making sure that not only are you providing your clients, your agents with this phenomenal product, this Shawami product, but you guys take it a step beyond. And without any additional ask, without any additional cost, your agents get to participate in things like this, where they can do the things that are, for the most part, strictly designed for their bottom line. How do we get more contracts? How do we get more buyers and sellers? What is the foundational work to ensure that we have work product that's constant and consistent to at least help eliminate that roller coaster ride? We're not going to have any control over what goes on in government, politics, financial markets, those kinds of things. But here is an opportunity that all of you are being provided by Shawami on the regular, not just the classes that I have been asked to teach for you guys, but all kinds of other pieces of content that Shawami provides their agents in order to help you guys do just that, have a more constant and consistent and increased business over time, which I think is really what we all want. The goal is to just have right?
I want a consistent flow of business myself.
Absolutely. I think that's why we all focus on these kinds of things. That's why we study the kinds of techniques and tactics that will help us do that.
Exactly. And here at Shawami, it's one of our pillars is education. We want education for our agents, and that's why we bring in amazing coaches like Adam to speak to our agents at a real, intimate level. So you guys can ask questions throughout today's webinar. In fact, I'm going to begin by asking a quick question for everybody. I want to know in the comments, how long have you been in real estate? So we want to know this because we can actually tailor today's conversation more towards you and what your needs are based on how long you've been in the business. So definitely drop us a quick comment. Let us know how long you've been in the business. And we're excited to be talking about really building your CRM for success. And like I said, this is step 1 of 3 series that we're going to be doing to talk about that very thing.
And I think it's important to understand that what we're really trying to give you guys here is a long-term opportunity. We really want for you guys to be able to take this information. It's very tactical, it's very tractional, and to start putting pieces in place. Eventually, we'll talk about automation and systemization for some of these things as well, so that you guys have consistent work product and subsequently consistent results. I love that Matt commented that he's been in the game for 25
years.
Yeah. Likewise, Matt. It's terrible. Thanks for aging us, buddy. That's great. I started when I was 6. No, not really. But I think that that's really the end goal here, is that you guys should have, you should have already internalized. I don't care where you are, whether you're in this game for a year or 25, that you have understood, adopted, and internalized the fact that you are running a business. Now, I don't care if you're a new agent on a team. I don't care if you run a team. I don't care if you're Gary Keller. You are running a business. And I only threw that out there because I know Matt's history. I know Matt's real estate agent history. So, but no matter how you position yourself in this, you run a business. You have a business. And your goal, whether that is in a year or 5 or 10 or 25, is to have built a business, a strict repeat and referral business that you can eventually walk away from while it still pays you. So many agents aren't thinking with that kind of foresight going down the road, but that is the goal for all of our clients, is we want you to focus on the eventual position of having built a business that you can walk away from while it still pays you.
You mean agents can retire? We've all seen the 65 years in business. Come on.
You guys, just because of your history, and I know before you were on the coast that you guys were here in Colorado. And without any judgment whatsoever, there is an agent here that's been doing real estate in Denver for probably 100 years. Her name is Kay Watson. She's an incredible woman, one of the sharpest, friendliest, most incredible people I know. And I have no idea how old Kay is, but I know she's too old to be putting signs in yards. And she loves the game. She loves the real estate game. She loves playing this. And I don't know a lot of people that would want to do it. I don't know people that at 60, 70, 80 years old want to be putting signs in yards. So, yeah, if you have that long-term focus, then maybe we can do that. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the basic first steps here, okay? And content management and calendar management, which is really kind of what we'll talk about in this episode today, is really got to be the basics of this. Now, you guys have heard of a lot of these coaching programs, whether it is Just the Tips or Ninja or Core or Buffini, all incredible programs. And without taking anything away from any of them, a lot of what they work on synonymously is contact management. And they do that because for decades, it still works. It's not antiquated. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that a lot of these other coaching programs do need to modernize some, and you guys are going to get a taste of some of that in these future sessions that we're going to do for Xiaomi when it comes to social media and video and these kinds of things. But every one of these coaching programs out there still focuses on contact management because it still works. These are the kinds of things. This is foundational work. This is structural work that you guys have got to be doing in order to ensure that you can eventually reach that goal of having a strict repeat and referral business that you have stepped away from, despite the fact that it still pays you. Okay? So that's obviously a very, very big deal. The first pinnacle in our program, which is a big part of this, is that we want you to get to a point, and this is really the point we expect you guys to want to be able to focus on through these next 3 sessions, is where your business is strictly repeat and referral. You're not buying leads. I'm not going to see your photo on the bus bench or on my grocery cart, those kinds of things. And if we talk about ROI on those kinds of ad spends, it's really not there. And I have people in my program, I have people in my classes all the time that will tell the rest of the audience, no, the 12 grand a month I pay or whatever ridiculous number it is to be on the grocery carts does not generate that kind of revenue. We do it for the purposes of branding, not for lead gen. I want you guys to focus on lead gen. So that's really what we're doing here, is helping you guys get more contracts, more buyers, more sellers. Okay. So I know that Xiaomi is running a contest for you guys. And if you're looking in the comments when we are actually in StreamYard, then you guys will be able to see that. We actually do one of our own as well. And bear with me, we modified a bit of this presentation to accommodate just the Xiaomi agents. There are some things you guys should know about me since the pandemic. I've done a lot of cooking. I've learned how to do better cooking and baking. And I really did lose my filter. If I happen to drop the occasional F-bomb, I apologize. I am very passionate about this stuff. But today, you are going to get Adam plump and unfiltered. So that's the way that works. As far as our own little contest goes, we do this with everybody. And if you guys would like to identify which of these statements about me is a lie, which ones are the truth, then feel free to message us on Instagram at Just the Tips Coaching. And if you're right, then we will have a nice gift for you sent out ASAP. All right. So that should be enough time. Actually, I'll just go through it. Again, we're at Just the Tips Coaching on Instagram. The 3 statements: I was once an endurance race car driver. I am a 4th generation Denver Broncos season ticket holder. And at one time in my life, I was a rock concert security guard. One of those is not true. If you want to message which one you think it is, and you're right, I've got something for you to send out, and you guys can do that in your leisure. All right. Just so you guys have a little bit of background about what Just the Tips does. We do focus a lot on contact management, calendar management, but we do also focus a lot on workflow and workload and social media, video, technology, AI, campaigns. That's one of the things that brought us here today, because Matt Kuchar actually had reached out to me asking about one of our campaigns, and Josh had mentioned the birthday campaign. He didn't describe it quite that way, but that is what they are seeing as the result of our birthday campaign. So we do a lot of work on that. He did mention our weekly podcast, How I Met Your Mortgage. You guys can catch that live as a video cast on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube on Mondays at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern. And the podcast is uploaded on Wednesdays to Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. We work on branding. We work on writing. That's another thing that Matt and I have talked about a lot. We work on referral partner relationships, event planning, and the biggest one, if you do in fact want to build a business that you can walk away from while it still pays you, will be the team structure portion. It's funny, Josh, a lot of people really struggle to make that turn. There's a psychological barrier, and I get it. We're all type A, we're all salespeople, and we have this unspoken belief that nobody can do it as well as we can do it. And we may be right, but I've got this belief that if somebody can do it 80% as well as I can, I'm going to let them do it. Okay, because obviously, and I'll mention it now, I guess, that second pinnacle that we want our clients to reach is getting to a point where they're only doing things that they love to do or pay them really well. So there are going to be high dollar activities that you guys will still need to do.
Yep.
But all of these things that you think you're really good at, and you may very well be, you probably are, but they're $20 an hour activities, you should be paying somebody else to do. Let's not forget the main piece of this. And I have a lot of potential coaching clients, and the interview question, and it's really just one that I always ask, is tell me your job. What is your job? What is it you're actually doing? Shave it down to the bone. I'm not a prospective buyer or seller. I don't want to hear your elevator speech. And the answer to the question I'll give you guys is generate leads. And most people cannot answer that for me. But the neat thing about it is that everything that's a byproduct of you guys finding more buyers and sellers is something you can really pay somebody else to do. And on the flip side, if you don't have buyers and sellers, you don't need to know how to negotiate a contract. You don't need to know how to deal with an inspection objection if you don't have buyers and sellers. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to put the slides back up here. Let's talk about contact management. Let's talk about CRMs. You guys have all heard that the best CRM is the one that you will actually use. And there are a ton of them out there. I don't dislike any. I dislike the idea of paying an exorbitant amount of money for a CRM that you're not going to use or that you're not going to utilize to its full capability. That would bother me. So that being the case, all I really care about when it comes to you guys doing this in that kind of manner is that you have a contact database. And if any of you comments that you've got a spreadsheet with all the names and numbers in it, I'll plots. However, if you have the ability to store contact data, if you have the ability to store notes, if you have the ability to store phone numbers, email addresses, the contact information, then that's really what I want to know. And actually something that you guys should also be focused on is physical addresses, your real estate residence, the actual physical address, the collateral we would refer to it as in the mortgage space, is obviously a valuable piece of that data as well. Okay. But no matter what you guys are going to do, you need to have an audience. Your goal should be to get as many people consuming as much of your content as possible. We'll talk more about that in a traditional content fashion when we get into social media and video. You guys need to understand that I'm going to use that term content in a very loose way. And if you like networking events, you like doing one-on-one conversations, shaking hands with people, whatever's coming out of your mouth, that's your content. Maybe you like mailing postcards, and that's worked for you in farming neighborhoods for a long time. What's on that postcard is your content. So don't get caught in the trap of thinking that content is strictly social media, because it's not. Your goal should be getting more people to consume more of your content, whatever that content happens to be. In order to do that, you have to have an audience. If you're going to do an email campaign, you need those email addresses. If you're going to do a text campaign or a voicemail campaign, you need those cell phone numbers. If you're going to do a postcard campaign, you need the physical addresses, but you need to have an audience. You need to have the contacts and that data in your contact database. This is really, really important. Now, one of the things that I really love about real estate agents, why it's probably my preferred coaching client, although it's certainly been the longest. I've been coaching real estate agents longer than any other industry. But of all the sales gigs where it's direct to consumer for large ticket items out there, you guys are in the most unique position that everybody, and I mean everybody, should be in your contact database. And I'll get to explaining how that is and how we categorize it and why it should be everybody. But when we're talking about gaining contacts, literally, guys, you've got to have your eyes and ears open all the time. The networking events I mentioned, social gatherings, charity events. Charity events are huge because you're already in a room full of people that already have a similar interest to you. They already have a passion about whatever charity it is that you are supporting or sponsoring. I sit as chairman of the board for a medical facility called Kyle's Mountain House that happens to provide respite and palliative care to children and support care to their families. Coincidentally, we have our once a quarter in-person board meeting tonight, so it just seemed appropriate timing. Sporting events, I go to a Bronco game. And I'm already there with 75,000 people that I have something in common with. There's already a toehold on that report. The guy on the next bar stool, the server in your restaurant, friends, literally everybody. And I'm going to explain why. Because we're going to categorize our contact database into 3 buckets: clients, leads, and advocates. Clients, anybody that's done business with you. And you guys need to know full well, and you probably do, although it needs to stay more forefront, that if you are not in touch with your past clients, they are now someone else's prospects. I hear a lot of chatter in the mortgage space about trigger leads and about rocket marketing to people that mortgage originators had given Rocket mortgages to, because Rocket does wholesale and retail. And if Rocket is soliciting my clients as a mortgage originator, well, then that's on me. I'm not doing a good enough job staying in front of people, staying in touch with people, truly helping people, if Rocket is going to be able to steal my clients. That's not their fault. That's my fault. Okay. Leads, anybody who is going to do business with you. Now, if you really have your eyes and ears open, that could be a lot more people than you guys actually think. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit as we go down this road through these next few sessions about where we can really convert something casual like my neighbor, my uncle, my coworker was talking about buying a home, selling a home, refinancing a home, whatever, and how to actually make that a real lead. Do you work in a certain part? And one of the neatest things about being a real estate agent is the ability to refer business and get paid for it. It is one of the coolest things about being a real estate agent. Okay. And then advocates. So we've got clients, anybody that's done business with you; leads, anybody that's going to do business with you; and advocates, anybody that could refer business to you. Now, here's where this comes in as being a really neat thing about being a real estate agent. Of all the sales gigs that are direct to consumer with these high ticket items, everybody either owns real estate, wants to, or knows someone who does. So literally everybody out there, everybody you guys come into contact with is a potential client lead or most likely an advocate. The server in the restaurant, and I'll talk about that one. The clerk in the grocery store. All of these people either own real estate, want to, or know someone who does. Simple as that. Now, here's another interesting one. You guys are real estate agents. We know on the NAR stats alone that 80% fail in the first 2 years, 85% in the first 5 years. Don't you think those people, the ones that got into real estate because they thought it would be cool, they watch a lot of HGTV, oh, it's going to be fun, and I'm going to have a lot of free time, and I'm going to see cool houses, and I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'm going to spend time with my kids. You guys that are in it know that's bullshit. It just is what it is. But they're going to be gone in 24 months, 36 months, and they still need somebody to help them buy and sell real estate. That is going to be you. Okay. All right. This is out of one of the earliest versions of Outlook, and I'm really dumbing it down here because you guys are all using, excuse me, a wide gamut of different CRMs. And I have coaching clients that absolutely sing about Purple Lion or about KV Core. And there are others. There are probably 100 different ones. Do know that a lot of them, the backbone software in it is Salesforce, and we love Salesforce. They're a local company here in Colorado, and they do great things not only with their CRM, their sales applications, but they actually do write the backbone software for a lot of these other CRMs. In fact, odds are good that whatever it is you're using, the structure of it in the background is Salesforce. This, however, is Outlook. Now, don't get me wrong. Outlook, I wouldn't really go so far as to define it as a CRM, but I wanted to really dumb this down for you guys so that you can see no matter what CRM you're using, this is a potential way for you guys to structure it so that you're getting the most out of your CRM, out of your contact management. Okay. So this is a basic contact file, and every CRM is going to have one. And again, name, contact information, address, the ability to take notes. One of the things that I find really important when we're talking about adding to our CRM is, where did this person come from? Were they referred to me? Was this actually the server in the restaurant, the clerk in the grocery store? Those kinds of things. You guys have got to be able to do that. And I'm going to explain why. My contact database is 20,000 people. I touch them all 40 to 70 times a year, depending on who they are, what bucket they fit into, what kind of content they should be receiving, those sorts of things. And I have to be able to take notes, because if I'm having conversations over the course of 6 months with 10,000 people, I'm not going to remember the conversation another 6 months from now. But when I take notes and I show myself, hey, I talked to Matt, I talked to Josh 6 months ago. His mom broke her arm. He said that while we were talking, and I'm going to remember to ask him. No, I'm going to read my own notes and ask him, hey, how's your mom? How's her arm? Everything okay? Did she heal up? Did she have to do PT? Because that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. And guys, you need to know that when we're having these connections, when we're having these conversations, and I'll probably talk about it a little bit as we go down the road today, we're not talking about real estate. And don't get me wrong, guys, but real estate is not a sexy subject. If I happen to be in the throes of buying or selling a house, fantastic. But for me to come up with some subjects that are more boring than real estate, well, I'm a mortgage originator, so there's one. Mortgages are really boring. And maybe tax law. And hey, it's right around April 15th, so that one's fitting.
Spot on with the tax law, right? Everybody just filed taxes yesterday.
Yeah, but
or at least they had to.
We hope you did. Hopefully you guys did or filed your extensions. Yes. But we're not going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about real things. We're going to talk about Josh's mom and her broken arm. Okay. We're not doing this to solicit business. Now, do we ask for the business? Always. That's one of the most important things as salespeople that we do. But we're not having these conversations to be self-serving. We're doing them to help the people that we're talking to. We're doing them to help identify their pain points. We're doing it to help solve those pain points. Hey, your mom's arm is still bugging you. I know this great PT. One of my employees goes to the same physical therapist. I'll send you their information. Maybe they can help. Maybe they can at least give you some ideas on how your mom can get her arm back into normal working order, whatever the case may be. Okay. So we've got to be able to start with the source. Now, when it comes to the contact management of it, you guys have got to maintain your database the same way you do your car. You change the oil in your car, at least I hope you do. I'm a car guy, so if you don't, then please don't comment that, no, I've had the same oil in my car for the last 16 years, because I don't want to know that. But you need to have a plan. You need to have an idea of where these categories fit, and even some subcategories in your clients bucket, in your leads bucket, in your advocates bucket. How often are they referring you business? How often are they using you for business? Is the investment client that's buying a house every 90 days worthy of a greater amount of contact from you than the one person who bought a house from you last year and has never referred anybody and isn't going to sell their house for another 5 years, right? So we want to have subcategories inside of those 3 buckets. As far as I rate them 1 through 5, I have clients that use a star rating. Obviously, you guys have probably seen some historic stuff from Buffini or Core or Ninja where they call them A's and B's and C's, that kind of thing. But you've got to have a plan for how often you're going to contact these people, in what manner, right? And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, here in another slide. But we're going to communicate with people in the manner in which they want to be communicated. If these are people that don't like talking on the phone and they prefer text, text them. If they respond to your emails, email them. If they communicate well over Facebook Messenger, then do that. We'll talk more about that when we get into the social media module next time. But there are absolutes in how each individual prefers their communication. Make sure you're honoring that. Okay. So that's really a very, very big piece of the puzzle. But the whole goal here, like it is with all these other coaching programs, is stay top of mind. In fact, top of mind is one of the programs that we probably should mention and didn't, because again, same kind of thing, contact management. And yes, it's old school, but yes, it still works. The difference is that we're not just picking up the phone, although I still love the phone. I will tell you guys honestly, in my mortgage practice, I still today, 25 years in, make hundreds, literally hundreds of non-transaction related outbound phone calls every week. Hundreds per week. I love the phone. In fact, I had a long conversation this morning with one of our newest coaching clients, a mortgage originator in Indiana, about that today. So yeah, good stuff all around. Okay. And I did already say this, and credit where credit's due. My marketing director, Jen Hart, certainly she's a newlywed. Jen Hart put this together for me. She and Josh and I bounced some ideas around, and so you guys will have to bear with me. I do tend to get a little ahead of my slideshow. Okay. So how to touch your contacts, and no, not in the usual just the tips inappropriate way. Yes, there's a double entendre there, but that's not what I'm referring to. Birthday campaigns are huge. Okay. And this is really where Josh and Matt Kuchar and I started talking about some of this additional content that we would be providing to the agents that subscribe to Shawami, is because of that birthday campaign. And that's really a big one. And I know it's a little different in the real estate space than in the mortgage space. So I'm going to make a couple of recommendations to you guys. One, that you certainly have a birthday campaign. We can talk about that next time when we work on social media and on video, because both of those things are pieces of our birthday campaign. But historically, go to your title reps, go to your title attorneys. They all have copies of your clients' IDs. Ask them for your past clients' birthdays, because you didn't know to capture that data. Going forward, and we'll talk a little bit about all this content when we get to the drill down, create a form to go at the end of your buyer's agreement or your seller's agreement, asking for some basic information, including a birth date. A buyer or seller isn't going to question that. Why do you need this? This is a major contractual transaction. It's not something that they're going to question. If they don't give it to you, they don't give it to you. But having a birthday campaign is a big one. Anniversaries is a big one, and there are 2. Wedding, that one seems like by default, and that's why we say be careful. And home buying. The home buying anniversary should be a great opportunity. There's an additional touch per year, and maybe more than one, posting on their social media, setting up a voicemail campaign, a text campaign, an email campaign, an actual phone call. You can touch people multiple times on each of these events. When it comes to wedding anniversaries, however, you guys all know that the divorce rate is sky high. In fact, it's ridiculous. And those are the ones we know about, right? Something, if we actually looked at it, 70, 80% of marriages are either divorced or failing, that kind of thing. So be careful when it comes to the wedding anniversary stuff. Newsletters. I'm trying to think. We do a newsletter blog, written blog, twice a month. So there's another 24 touches per year. And we use ours as a trigger for me to go and do a video blog after it goes out. So there are potential additional touches. And obviously, we'll talk about video in a future episode here. But these are great opportunities on how you can touch your database. Okay, regular check-ins. That's really what I'm doing in this contact management stuff. And I'll show you guys here in a second what my contact management calendar looks like. But hey, how are you? How's the wife and kids? How's your mom's arm? Just regular check-ins, actual relationship type of things. We're all so busy. The technology is so robust that we don't do face-to-face stuff the way that we used to, the way that humans used to. So the ability to have real connection, real communication is something people crave, something people are starved for right now. In fact, I do want to mention this, and this will be important through all of this work that we're going to work on together, guys. People already know what you do. Your audience knows what you do. If they don't know that you're a real estate agent, we need to go back to Marketing 101. I promise you, they know what you do. What they care about now is who you are. Please focus your conversations, focus your content, especially when we get into social media and video. Focus on who you are. People want to work with people that think like them, that are like-minded, that are into the same kind of things. And the really neat silent byproduct of you having that authenticity and that transparency about who you are, rather than being so cold and focusing on just what you do as real estate agents, is that you'll organically repel the people you wouldn't want to work with anyway. It's really a very cool piece of the puzzle. Okay. So yeah, voicemail campaigns, text campaigns. There's so many good ways to stay in front of your contact database, to stay in front of your people, that the possibilities are limitless. Now, I will say this. Most of our coaching clients usually latch on to about 3 different methodologies, different techniques. For me, you guys already know I love the phone. If you guys don't follow me on social media, please do. You'll see a lot of stuff there, and video. I'd really say that those are the 3 that I really cling to and focus on and use in my regular activity for this contact management lead generation type of work. Okay. All right. So scheduling is really a very big piece of the puzzle. In addition to having good workload for your contact management database, you need to also have really good work in your contact management calendar. So when we talk about things like changing the oil on your car, you got to maintain that database. You got to make sure that the people that you do want to be in touch with aren't falling through the cracks, and that you do have future follow-ups with them. You also want to make sure that the people that you don't want to be in contact with are being allowed to fall through the cracks. There's nothing wrong with that. I know it's hard to let go of some of those contacts, but if you've called somebody, text, if you've called somebody 3 times, once every quarter, they don't return your calls, they haven't inquired with you about anything to help with the home you sold them, they haven't referred any business to you, you really don't have things in common, you're not seeing them out and about, whatever, it might be time to cut that loose and make room in your contact management calendar for the next people, as it were. Okay. It really can be good for your business. So that maintenance of your database is really key, that changing of the oil. I run through it alphabetically. I keep tabs in my calendar. I keep everything in my calendar. You guys will see that eventually. I keep everything in my calendar. And when we get into real details here, I'll show you what my calendar looks like today, because these are old slides that way, but I really wanted it to be as simple as possible. I really wanted to dumb this down so that whatever CRM you guys are using, it would make sense. But I like to do it when there's a ball game on that I want to watch. And I'm not going to watch every minute of every play of every commercial, so on and so forth. So I'm just kind of casually working through my database, making sure people aren't falling through the cracks. If there are people I want falling through the cracks, that I'm letting them. That kind of thing. So I'm just kind of running my database maintenance when it's casual. I'll spend a half hour out on the patio here. I'll spend an hour on it while watching a football game or a hockey game. I'm a big sports fan as well as cars. Those are a couple things that I really cling to. And now you guys are learning something about Adam. So this is really kind of a snapshot into what I'm doing when it comes to this contact management. Now, this is really old. So bear in mind that when it's 20,000 contacts, this looks quite a bit more robust. I have changed this a little bit. And if you looked at what my calendar looks like today, and we're probably talking an average of 50 birthdays a day. That's what you're seeing in the top section of my calendar there. And there are days in here where it was only 3 or 4 or 5. And below that, from 8 a.m. on, what you're seeing is that actual contact management. And the reason it all looks the same is because the first word in every one of those calendar events is call. Call Bob Jones. Call Josh Kuchar. Call. Now, I'm not always calling. It might be a text. It might be a social media message. It might be an email. Again, we're going to communicate in the manner with the recipient that they want to be communicated in with. But now I do, and again, these are all in 5-minute intervals, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday and Tuesday, and 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday and Thursday. I still don't do this activity on Friday. The Fridays are dedicated mostly for my coaching clients, although Mondays are a lot like that as well. It has shifted over time where I need more time for my coaching clients than for this kind of activity. But this is really basic stuff. I do want to digress a little bit and tell you that the guy that taught me this on paper. Okay. He was an incredible real estate agent, eventually went on to work for HUD. And when he taught me this, he brought me in the giant 3-ring binder that we all had in school. That's like 3 inches thick. And he had 4 sections in it. And the first section was basically his calendar. And it was just a list of numbers for each day. And then each of those numbers, 101, 201, 301, correlated to a page in one of the following 3 sections: clients, leads, and advocates. So he'd look at his calendar for today, April 16, and there would be 20 numbers written down. And the first one was 118. So he would flip to page 118, and that was the contact file on paper, mind you, for Bob Jones. And so he would call Bob, and he would have a chat with Bob, and he would take notes about his conversation with Bob. And then he would go and put Bob on the calendar for another 90 days down the road. When he got to that list, he would go to Bob's page, and he had notes about what he had talked about with Bob. And that was how he ran this contact management system on paper in a 3-ring binder. Now, granted, this was more than 20 years ago, guys. This was before heavy CRM use. This was before social media. This was before anything like TikTok.
This is before AI note takers too.
A little bit, yeah. This was a little bit
nowadays,
before AI.
Oh my gosh, and we'll probably dive into that at some point. When it comes to taking notes on your calls, you can use AI to summarize, and most CRMs throw it directly in. But that all depends, and we're going basic level today, guys.
Right. But you're not wrong. I'm gonna pull the curtain back a little bit on our AI module for you here, Josh, because the biggest flaw I see with real estate agents and AI is that real estate agents are creating problems for AI to solve. They didn't have these problems. They're creating them for AI to solve rather than using AI to solve the problems that they do have. So a couple of the exercises that we make our coaching clients do in the AI modules are to record their conversations, their initial conversations with prospects. And then to let AI, now you guys have got to be using AI in a manner where it really knows who you are.
Yes.
The computers are still dumb. They only know what we tell them. So it's garbage in, garbage out with AI. If you're not really spending time with your AI, I don't care if it's ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever it is, if you're not really teaching your AI about you, you're not going to get good results. But record those initial conversations, put the transcripts into your AI, and ask AI to help you with 2 things. One, identify how the person you're talking to wants to be communicated with, how they should be spoken to, and what their potential personality profile is. And then ask AI to help with your side of the conversation and how can you get better at those initial conversations in order to help you convert more leads into clients. Okay. All right. I'm going to
I
stop
love
there.
it.
But please, for the
Yes,
love
yes.
of God, stop using AI to make cartoon action figures of yourselves. I know a bunch of you are doing it, have done it this last couple of weeks, and use AI to solve problems you already have. All right. This work, these calls, these texts. You saw my calendar. I do it in the morning for a number of good reasons. One, I'm more productive in the morning. When I'm in the office, I'm probably there 12 hours a day. And I get more done between 6 and 10 a.m. than I do from 10 to 6. You guys know this is true. Okay. The other piece of that is that the recipients, the people you're calling, texting, emailing, they're still in a good mood. Their day hasn't ruined them yet. So I really like the mornings. Okay. Another piece of this puzzle, return all your calls. Don't ever be known as the agent that doesn't return calls. That drives me nuts. I cannot believe still today how many times I will call and leave an agent a very vanilla message because I have a qualified borrower for them and they don't return the call. It just blows my mind. I'm handing you a commission on a silver platter and you can't be bothered to return my call. It's absolute lunacy to me. Don't ever be known as the person who doesn't return phone calls. And here's a really good one. There's a potential client, lead, or advocate on the other end of that line. Remember, everybody either owns real estate, wants to, or knows someone who does. Okay. If you guys will actually do this work, you will see results. That's one of the big things about, about our program is that it's not easy work. You guys know this as real estate agents. You know it's not what we see on HGTV. You know full well that this is a career, not a job, a marathon, not a sprint. I had a class attendee in Vegas not too long ago ask me, what's the one thing you would tell someone to do to get to where you're at? And I said, work hard for 20 years. That's it. Work hard. There are no magic potions. There's no secret sauce. There are no unicorns. Just keep going. Be constant. Be consistent. That's something that we talk about a lot as well. I've written a few books. I'll get you guys some information on that. But one of them is Mindset Tools for Sales. We talk about the 4 keys being constancy, consistency, authenticity. These are obviously very big, and transparency. If you want to be really successful at what you do and you implement those things from the heart, you will be. It's as simple as that. All right. You've got to be diligent about this stuff. You have to actually make the calls, send the texts, send the postcards, do the social media posts, record the videos, these kinds of things. You have to be diligent. If you want constant results, you have to be constant in your workload. You guys have got to understand, and I know that most of you do, that the work you're doing today, the framework you're laying today, the contacts you're making today, the additions to your contact database you're making today are things that are going to pay dividends in 90 days or a year or 3 or 5. You guys know this. So those agents that you know kill it, that you want to model, and I'm not talking about like the Sirhant, and I'm not getting back into HGTV stuff here. The ones that are in your market that are crushing it, this is what they're doing. They work hard. They're constant and consistent. They're diligent with the work. I don't know how many of you guys know this, and I've met Ryan a couple of times, and he's a nice enough guy. Killer wardrobe, by the way. But Ryan was actually scored the job as a reality TV star, and then the producer told me he had to go get a real estate license so that they could do that show. So he was actually a TV star before he was a real estate agent, not the other way around, which is the typical belief. Okay. All right. Back to the lecture at hand, but I digress. If you guys are just starting off in this process, either you're a relatively new agent or you haven't been so good about your contact management, making those calls is tough. On a side note, I highly recommend the book Overcoming Call Reluctance. It's a few years old now. It was written by a coach of mine decades ago, or he was my coach decades ago, by the name of Carl White. He owns a company now called the Mortgage Marketing Animals. He only coaches mortgage originators. But the content of that book, Overcoming Call Reluctance, is gold. And when he told me about it, he was in town doing a one-day event, so I went. And I don't have any call reluctance. I love the phone. I pick up the phone, and he said, yeah, you do. You do still have call reluctance. Trust me, read the book. And he was right. There are still things I have difficulty all the time overcoming in that space. And that book was of enormous help. All right. So again, we're talking about having casual conversations. Who you are, not what you do. They already know what you do. We're making friends before we make clients, because those are the clients for life. Those are the referral sources for life. We listen. I'm going to say this now because it is a big deal, and it's worth repeating. And I probably have another slide that will repeat it. But guys, we're salespeople. We love to talk, and we're good at it. But one of the greatest skills a salesperson, a direct-to-consumer salesperson, especially for these large ticket items, can have is the ability to listen. Just shut up and listen. And another nugget here from Carl White, the way he had explained it to me back then, was a hot potato. You guys have all played the game Hot Potato. And if you're the one talking, you're the one holding the potato. Get rid of it. Listen, people will open up. They want to talk. They want to describe those pain points, which you are in the unique position to step in and solve. Okay. So do a lot of good listening. That's certainly a very, very big one. And here's the bottom line, that most of us work in a field where we can benefit somebody else to boot. You've got a client that's having car trouble. Well, guess what? You have a client that's a car mechanic. That kind of connection making, that bridge building, are the kinds of things that earn you clients for life, that eventually get you to the trusted authority status. And we'll talk about that here in a second as well. Don't get me wrong, work is going to come up. People are going to ask you. You should have a couple of canned responses about your work. If it's somebody you don't really know very well, they're going to ask you, what do you do? You better have a semi-canned response to that to help generate leads. And the other one, if people do know you moderately or really well, they're going to ask you, how's work? We're just conditioned to ask these questions as humans. And you better have a semi-canned response for that as well. If somebody's going to ask you, how's work? You guys have got to have a response that's going to help you generate more business. It doesn't have to be scripted, but do know how to respond to those two questions. What do you do? And how's work? In a manner that will help you open the door to generating leads. Okay. When you're starting this process, you're putting in your contact database together. You haven't talked to these people because you weren't doing this properly. You are now. You're going to do it now. But you weren't doing it properly. They're not going to be upset with you. And if you want to apologize about, oh my God, being a real estate agent is so much more work than people think. I'm doing 60 hours a week. I've got all these things going on. I've got to figure out how to do property analysis. And I've got to figure out what my mortgage lender is talking about. And what the hell is a seller concession? Whatever it is, what's a temporary buy down? I've got all these things I have to know. Plus the market's been insane. There are fewer real estate agents than there have been since, well, certainly before the NAR settlement. It's so busy. By the time you're done apologizing for why you haven't been in touch, they're going to be okay with you not having been in touch. I promise you. And this is such weird human condition type of stuff. And I studied a lot of psychology, so you guys will have to bear with me here. People are not thinking about us as often as we think people are thinking about us. Nowhere close. So feel free to let that one go. Okay. But make sure that the subjects of your calls, the subtext of your calls is geared towards that lead gen. If people, and here's that slide. Thank you, Jen. I don't know if she's watching, but how's work? Have a canned response to that. I want to do 100 deals this year, and I think I'm going to fall short. Do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell? I'm trying to move my market specifically to Fort Lauderdale. Do you know anybody there? Those kinds of things. Have some semi-canned responses to when people ask you how's work. It will pay dividends. And on top of this thing that I already mentioned, where we need to be better at listening, remember that hot potato theory, ideology. Try to imagine it in your head when you're talking with people. Reading is now also a big one. You want to look for some content. Bob Jones pops up in your contact management calendar and you have no idea what you're going to say to Bob. Go look at Bob's Facebook. Go look at Bob's Twitter. Go look at his Insta. See what Bob's been up to recently so that you have something to talk about. Go read about what Bob has been doing. You know Bob's into motorcycles. Go find a cool article about motorcycles and send it to him. Hey, I saw this article. I know you're into bikes. I was thinking about you. Hope you're well. Let me know if you need anything. Again, the subtext, I'm still in real estate. Please don't forget about me. Subtext. Okay. But there are all kinds of ways to listen and read and look and see and learn in order to make that process that much easier. Okay. So when we're talking about this stuff, when we're talking about connecting, when we're talking about real relationships, you've got to understand, are you just a real estate agent to these people? Because I've got news for you guys. A lot of the consumer sees you as a commodity, and it sucks. I saw a wonderful short form video. Guy knocks on a woman's door. Hey, I'm a real estate agent. She says, oh, I already found an agent. They're going to list my house for 2.5%. He says, I'll do it for 1%. He's like, great, do it. And then, of course, there's no sign in the yard. He's taking photos with his cell phone, these kinds of things. And he says, you're just going to do cell phone pictures? 1%. You're not going to put a sign in the yard? 1%. So remember that the consumer, the general consumer, views you guys as a commodity that way. And if they can get, I know I'm going to date myself here, but if they can get a 39-cent cheeseburger from McDonald's and a 29-cent cheeseburger from Burger King, they're going with the 29-cent cheeseburger. Now, if you've got real relationships, if you are not just a real estate agent, if you're actually a trusted advisor, somebody that they would seek out when they have questions. And I don't just mean, hey, my furnace is going out. Who do I call? There's a leak in my roof. Who do I call? Not just things that are related to the home you sold them or sold for them, but things like, hey, my car is falling apart. I need a new transmission. Who do you recommend? That makes you a trusted advisor if they're going to seek you out for help with all of these kinds of problems. The pinnacle, however, the top tier is, are you a trusted authority? So I'm your client. You sold me a house last year. The transmission's falling out of my car. I call you. Hey, do you know a mechanic? And you're going to say, yeah, call my guy, Joe. I'm not even going to question it. I'm just going to call Joe because you said so. And with enough of this work, this relationship building, this contact management, you are that trusted authority. So when we talk about that, we talk about net weaving versus networking. Help everybody else in your network get business. Help other people in your network solve problems, because that's the kind of thing that people don't forget. And then you are their real estate agent for life. Refer your contacts to other contacts. Solve problems. Education. Oh, Josh brought that one up in a big way. He talked about how important it is for Shawami to be providing education to all of its agents, and he's not wrong. And on that flip side, one turn deserves another. You guys should be providing education to your audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have all gone through this incredible amount of education, pre-examination, passing your examination, continuing education. And if you're not sharing that, what you know, do, live, and breathe every day with your audience, you're cheating them. Stop it. Give your audience your education. All right. So we talked about the drill down a little bit, and it's 50 questions. If you guys want the actual drill down sheet, I'll send it to you. And here I'll show it to you because it's fairly robust. But if you know the answers to those 50 questions about any particular person in your contact database, you're their agent for life, I promise. Family, children, ages of the kids, favorite meals, their work, their education, their spouse, on and on. If you guys can answer these 50 questions, then yeah, you're their guy. You're their girl. Absolutely. You are their agent without equivocation until the end of the earth. Now, again, bringing it into a more modern era, you guys can all do this in your CRM. You can create user-defined fields in whatever CRM you're using to answer these questions. The ones I focused on that I really like: birthplace. I do have a field for credit card information because a lot of our clients use them to order appraisals, those kinds of things. Their kids' names, their personality profile, their education level, their employment, so on and so forth. Why is this important? Because if you don't know, and I will have an anecdote about this, but if you don't know where your client works, you might be talking to somebody who works at Microsoft and has 3 million coworkers. All of them, again, either own real estate, want to, or know someone who does. These are untapped resources. I can't remember the math that we did in a short form video that we had some time ago, but if you've got 200 contacts, in your contact database, and I know that doesn't seem like a big number, and they each know 200 people who each know 200 people, there's something like 25,000 untapped contacts that you guys could be having as clients, leads, or advocates. So knowing where your client works, very big deal. I was in a class with a real estate coach many years ago, and he literally said to this group of people who were not real estate agents, but industry partners, title people, mortgage people, all kinds of other industries. And he said, well, the most important person in the transaction is the real estate agent, because they're the ones that know the client best. I'm like, wait a minute. I know how many times this person went to Taco Bell last month. I think I know them best. This is in comparison to the masses, the 80% that fail every 2 years. Don't be them. Know your clients, know your audience, know your contacts. That's how you guys want to get to do this. All right. One more piece of this puzzle when it comes to the phone work. You're going to get a lot of voicemail. I don't have a problem with that. If I got every person on the phone live and every time I picked up the phone, I would run out of time. I want voicemail machines. Now I'm old. The voice machine. Thanks, Josh, laughing at me with the little cassette tapes. Your dad will find that one funny. In any case, when we get voicemail boxes, I'm okay with it because I can leave a good message that still has the subtext, hey, I'm still in real estate. Don't forget about me. Okay. If they're not returning calls, the mad message, hey, I think I may have offended you. Would you call me back and let me know what I did so that I don't do it to somebody else? The wrong number. Take this with a grain of salt. 25 years ago, I worked for a mortgage company that had a dialer. All it wanted was live people or voice messages. If it got a live person, it would play a recording, something to the effect of, hey, if you want to participate in a survey and be entered in a drawing, press 1. The call would come back into the office. Irrelevant for this. If it got a voice machine, it would leave a message. Hey, Bob, this is John. We got your mortgage approved. The bank's okay with your foreclosure, your car repossession, and your late credit card payments. And the rate will be 5%. And we need to move now. This is a shady practice by modern standards. Don't do this. But everybody would call back. Hey, I have a foreclosure. I had a car repossessed, or I have a late credit card payment. I would love to have a 5% rate. Okay. So you can leave messages. In fact, for those of you that haven't read another great sales author, Jeffrey Gitomer, his first book was The Little Red Book of Sales Answers. I am currently reading his little platinum book of cha-ching, 32 and a half strategies to ring your own cash register. But he talks about leaving a message, and before you're done leaving it, hang up on yourself. The message gets cut off. The people are dying to know what the rest of the message was. They'll call you back. Interesting technique and tactic, but yeah, Jeff Gitomer, incredible sales coach, a number of really good books out there. But if you haven't read his first one, The Little Red Book of Sales Answers, I certainly have a recommendation for that. Okay. Birthday campaigns, we've talked about quite a bit. Ask him when it is, get that information, put it in your contact management calendar one time, and then you can repeat it. Fairly systemized and automated every year. I promise you that birthday campaign gets so much, the birthday campaign gets so much traction that the Kuchars reached out to me to help them set up a birthday campaign. I got a call from Adam. He was singing happy birthday to me. Okay. So put it in your calendar. And this is a really fun way to start the day. I am never going to upset somebody first thing in the morning calling them to wish them a happy birthday. Doesn't happen. That pumps me up for those next 2 or 3 hours of making the other prospecting calls. Prospecting is a weird word for it, but the birthday campaign is great stuff. This slide is out of order. We did talk about taking notes. Please do. If you have a really robust CRM and a very fast computer, use journal entries. You can take notes in the journal entry. The journal entry will log. I do this because I can just click on the phone icon in my CRM. It'll automatically dial the phone for me. It'll automatically create the log. I can take some notes, but if your computer isn't fast, it's going to have a hard time bringing up the data that you want to see the next time you go to call that person. All right. Bottom line with this stuff, guys, he who has the most friends wins. And I think that is the end of the slides. If you guys want to, we do offer a free hour of coaching. If you want to do that, feel free to hit up that QR code and I'll put that back up. And obviously you can find everything at justthetipscoaching.com. But Josh, I was so long-winded, man. I'm so sorry. I blasted through that. I'm out of breath. I can't get enough water in to keep from hacking, even with my cough drop, because I was prepared. But yeah, thanks, man. I love doing this stuff for Xiaomi. You guys are the pinnacle of taking good care of your customer base, having a really cool piece of tech at a ridiculously affordable cost. And here's the neatest thing about Xiaomi that people don't really recognize, and you guys should talk about more. It is one of the biggest problem solvers out there. And here's another piece: the general consumer doesn't know what the life of a real estate agent is really like.
Nope.
How difficult it is to balance and manage and do all these things. And we're just talking about somebody who isn't married, doesn't have kids, doesn't have a side gig, whatever, isn't doing work as a TC, etc. It's already so complex that the service Xiaomi provides is just such a nugget that, well, I don't think there are enough agents that know it, do it, use it. You and I had the privilege of doing a video chat not too long ago with one of your agents who's local to my market, and I do quite a bit of work with. And yeah, Matt, you're welcome. But yeah, she had just the greatest things to say about Xiaomi, and she's right. You guys, I love this when it comes to inventorship and evolution. See a need, fill a need. This is how some of the wealthiest inventors became who they were. And here is really something where the Kuchars and Xiaomi saw a need and filled a need.
Well, I think you touched up on it also at the very start of this conversation. One of the first things you mentioned was, as an agent, yeah, you start out doing everything, but eventually you need to start finding somebody who can be 80% as good as you. And that's, sometimes that's where showings kind of come into play. You've got somebody who can do it just as good as you to show homes. Don't always need it. But I mean, I think what you've provided today, as far as the baseline for starting the CRM, is to build your relationships and to categorize and get that ball running as a real estate agent. Guys, there's a lot of pieces of information that even I was getting from today's call, today's webinar, was the amount of touch points, the different types of touch points, and ways that you can kind of organize and categorize and keep track of all of those touch points for your past clientele, for your future clientele, keeping in mind the different pieces of information. And I even saw Adam had, in his way of categorizing his contacts, he even puts their DISC assessment, or what he believes their DISC assessment is. He puts in their goals. I saw that little piece as well. He's got these little hidden nuggets that he keeps in mind to keep the relationship alive. And that's, I think, that the absolute core of everything is building a relationship. It's a relationship management system, a CRM.
Right.
It's core is to have a relationship.
Well, but Josh, you and I, and not a single soul watching or participating, would say it's not a relationship business.
Yeah.
So if we focus on more relationships and deeper relationships, then the rest will fall into place.
Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about what's going on in the news. You've built a relationship with your client.
Well, don't do that anyway, please. On that note, for you guys, we do have an annual conference in Denver, the Mile High Mastermind, every fall. It's the last weekend of September. And one year, actually, during the pandemic, so we did this in person in the fall. It was very awkward, the fall of 20. Everybody wearing masks, every attendee, and we're in this enormous room because everybody had to have their own 6-foot table, right? Because we had social distancing, right? But we had a speaker that was once doing marketing for Lamborghini. And he had been asked the question in that role, why doesn't Lamborghini have TV ads? He said, because our customers don't watch TV. Okay. Now, I don't have any aspirations to own a Lamborghini. That's not the point here. But in the fall of 20, I had an epiphany about how much the news, as you put it, the media in general, and let's not even talk about how it's twisted, evil stepsister social media, but how, in fact, did you know that the assessment today is that roughly 50% of what's on social media is AI or bots?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But the media is a consumer business. They are capitalists. They want to sell their wares just like you, just like me, just like every one of you watching this. And when I had that epiphany and I realized that I can spend my time and dollars when it comes to entertainment how I want, I turned it off. I like hockey games. I don't like the news. I have not watched a news broadcast since then, since the fall of 20. Not local, not national, not global. I have not watched a news broadcast since then. Actually, what it was the news coverage of additional strains of COVID, right? Because in the spring of 20, we're glued to our screens, phones, computers, televisions, we're glued. And as that started to taper off and that revenue went down for those organizations, we have to cut. They were salivating. They'd never seen so much money. They'd never had so many eyes on screens for their product. So let's report on a new strain of COVID, because we've got to get those numbers back up. We've seen the end of the rainbow here. We know how much money we can make. Let's keep working towards that.
Yep.
So yeah, I turned off the news. I won't do it. I watch some CNBC and some Bloomberg. It's kind of my gig as a mortgage originator. I need to know what's going on in financial markets. And that's it. I won't watch a news broadcast.
That's fair enough. I don't disagree. I think that's the right mentality. But now that we've completely gone on the road,
we are off the rails. Yes.
This is also why we have to have very specific conversations like about it's
so
we
true.
have a 3-part series instead of it all being on one, is because it would have just been a 5-hour seminar.
It would have taken all day.
Into your CRM.
It would be an all-day event. Yeah.
And so, hey, everybody who's still with us, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. We're super excited. Anybody who's watching this later on YouTube, make sure you go back and take a look at some of those QR codes that Adam has shared with you. There's some really great resources. Take some screenshots. Keep in mind, he's here to help coach you later down the road. So if you are seeking a coach, reach out. He put it in there for a 1-hour session. If it's a great fit for you, by all means.